Hey friends, it's great to see you all again. Today, I've got a story to share about an HOA that tried to take over my shed to park a tractor. I've always valued respecting boundaries, both physical and personal, especially when it comes to private property. As a farmer, I've spent my life working the land, growing crops, and tending to animals with my small, close-knit family. Growing up, I learned the importance of hard work and mutual respect, principles that have guided me for as long as I can recall. So when our local homeowners association decided they could just claim my shed for their own use without even asking my opinion, it felt like a punch to the gut. I call it the incident now, and it kicked off a few months back, though the tension had been brewing for a while. I inherited a big piece of land from my grandfather, fields, a stable for my horses, a couple of barns, and a large tool shed behind my house. The shed's nothing special, just a solid wooden structure with a metal roof that my grandfather built about 50 years ago. He kept it in good shape, and now it's where I store my farming gear, rakes, shovels, feed bins, you name it. My situation's a bit unusual because part of my property falls under the HOA's jurisdiction. Our farm used to be all farmland, but years ago it got split up. About 6 acres around the house ended up within the boundaries of a neighborhood that popped up next door. The rest of my farmland, most of it stays separate from the HOA. My family's worked this land for generations, while the neighborhood's only been around a couple of decades. That difference has sparked some friction before, but we've always kept things civil. My neighbors outside the HOA are good people, longtime locals, but some of the newer folks in the housing development have a totally different take on property and community. I'd had my share of small run-ins with the HOA leadership, petty stuff, like them saying my fences didn't match the neighborhood's style, or that my driveway sign was an eyesore. I'd usually explain politely that my property's partly exempt from their sillier rules, and things would settle down for a bit. They'd push about mailbox designs or driveway appearances, and I'd try to stay friendly because I believe in being a good neighbor. But I always made it clear I had legal papers proving most of my farm buildings and land weren't under their control. That's the backstory that led to what happened next. It all started weirdly. One day there's a knock at my door. It's Linda, a bigwig on the HOA board, with some guy I'd never seen before. She introduced him as Victor, the board's head honcho, but it was obvious he was more than that, maybe a farmer from out of town or something. Linda acted like he was a VIP, her eyes practically sparkling. Victor was a tall, broad guy with a smile that didn't quite feel genuine. I invited them in, though I was wary from the get-go. Linda said they needed to borrow my shed. She framed it like I should be thrilled to help, explaining they had a community event coming up and needed to store Victor's tractor. She leaned hard on the farmer angle, saying I'd surely understand the need for safe, weatherproof storage for pricey equipment. It felt like a guilt trip. You're a farmer, so this should make sense to you, she kept repeating. I took a deep breath and explained that my shed was full of my own stuff: tools, seeds, fertilizer, feed, repair gear. It's busy season and I use it daily. There's no spare room for their tractor. Victor gave me this smug look, spreading his arms like, "Come on, be a pal." He launched into a speech about how community-minded farmers share storage and help each other out, tossing around lines like, "We've got to stick together," and "Neighbors help neighbors." The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd never met this guy, yet he was calling me neighbor. Linda added it'd only be for a little while, but when I asked how long, she dodged maybe weeks, maybe a month, maybe more. Then they dropped the real bombshell. They'd need 24/7 access, meaning I couldn't lock the shed. That was a hard no. Why would I leave my stuff unsecured? What if something got stolen or damaged? I said no, keeping it polite but firm. I told them I got the need for tractor storage, but my shed wasn't the spot. Linda's face tightened, her annoyance obvious, while Victor's fake grin turned into a scowl. They clearly expected me to roll over. They didn't yell, but they left fast, Linda muttering about finding another fix. I felt uneasy watching them go. I'd clashed with the HOA before, but this felt personal, like they were invested in pleasing Victor. I figured they might try something shady, so I stayed on guard. Sure enough, within days, neighbors started calling, some curious, some supportive. Word was spreading that I was refusing to help the community by not letting the HOA use my shed for essential equipment. A few said Linda or other board members had asked them to pressure me, claiming I was blocking a farmland demo or educational event for kids. That was Rick. No one had mentioned kids or education to me. Linda and Victor had only talked about stashing the tractor. The hypocrisy was maddening. Then a week later I woke up to a sign near my driveway, "Community project coming soon." It was on my land just past my fence. I called Linda, left a calm message asking her to move it to HOA property. No response. A few days later it was shifted 2 feet closer to the road still on my land. Petty but a clear message, they wanted a fight. I held off on lawyers or cops, hoping for a civil talk. That was naive. Soon a friend told me the HOA was holding a special meeting about me apparently. It was full of chatter about the uncooperative farmer, blocking community good. Then came an official letter, harping on about storing the tractor for this educational demo, a reason they just made up, I was sure. It threatened fines or legal action if I didn't comply, though they couldn't enforce it since my shed's not under their rules. Felt like a scare tactic. I dug up my property deeds and covenants, confirming the HOA had no say over my farmland or outbuildings. I was ready to respond, but things got wild first. One afternoon I'm fixing a fence when 2 police cruisers roll up, lights flashing. My stomach dropped. Accident? Emergency? Nope. The HOA had reported me for illegally storing stolen equipment in my shed. I laughed but stayed polite. They asked to look inside. I asked for probable cause. They showed me the HOA's complaint, claiming I was hiding their tractor, the one I'd refused to store. Unreal. I explained the whole mess, showed them my documents. The older cop got it quick, but they still needed to check the shed. I agreed, wanting it noted I cooperated fully and that the claim was nonsense. I opened the shed tools, no tractor. The cops confirmed it was baseless. Then Linda and Victor showed up, furious. Linda yelled about searching my barn too, pointing wildly. Victor paced, demanding accountability. I'd had it. I told the cops no more searches and warned Linda and Victor to leave or face trespassing charges. The older cops shut it down, complaint resolved, take it to civil court if they wanted. They argued, but the cops escorted them off. I realized they'd hoped to intimidate me into joining in. Big mistake. I got serious, called a lawyer, drafted a cease and desist letter. It said my property was off limits, no storage allowed, and demanded an apology for the false police report. The HOA's next meeting was a doozy. Linda spun a tale of me reneging on a promise I never made. But I showed up with proof. Deeds, recordings of them pressuring me. The crowd turned, some walked out. The board's story fell apart. Then I found tire tracks by my shed, someone scoping it out at night. I filed another trespassing complaint. The HOA tried my neighbor Tom's barn next. He said no, laughing at their nerve. It kept escalating. One night, a flatbed truck crept near my fence, likely planning to dump the tractor. I got photos, called the cops again. My lawyer pushed for a restraining order, trespassing, harassment, false reports. That spooked the HOA. A vote of no confidence ousted Linda and her allies. Victor's plan collapsed. He hauled his tractor elsewhere. The new board apologized, offered to cover my legal fees. I accepted, hoping for peace, but made it clear my land's not communal. Now I'm closer with neighbors. Some even want me to teach their kids about farming. Funny how it turned out. I still lock my shed, cameras up, signs posted. The new HOA's respectful, even invited me to a barbecue. I went, shared some goat tips, and left feeling good. The lesson? You can't bully someone out of their rights. I never let them in my shed, and I'm proud of that. Thanks for listening, friends. See you soon.